Jumping on to our last example for this section, 3 capital B, note that finally our givens change a bit. I have foci now instead of vertices. Okay. And then they gave me a handful of really ugly asymptotes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to try to find negative 29/4 on this graph. So I won't. Instead, I can look at these two foci and recognize, well, the center has to be right in between them. This is another one of those problems where I can just count. Between 2 and 12, there are 10 units. So I expect that center to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right in the middle. Again, finding that center gives us a ton of information, primarily h and k, since what we're being asked to do is write an equation. So we'll go ahead and note that we have found our center, which is going to be 7, negative 2. In addition to helping us with that, we also know that the asymptotes need to meet in the center. The asymptotes intersect right there. So I don't have to worry about that negative 29/4 in the graph. Up 3 over 4, up 3 over 4. I can just start at the center, and from the center, go up 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be one of my points. And then I can go down from the center, down 3 into the left 4. There's one of my asymptotes. The other one then is going to just have the reciprocal slope, down 3 and to the right 4. And then up 3 and to the left 4. And we get our asymptotes that way. Keep in mind, we don't really need these asymptotes for much, other than they do help us find A and B. We already know C. C is the distance from the focus to the center, and we had found that earlier. So we know that C is 5, and now we also have our 3 and our 4, our slope there, but trying to keep it straight with which version that we're looking at. Is that A over B? Is that B over A? Is definitely a table lookup. Wrong page. So jumping over to the page that we want here, keep in mind there are two different versions. There's a horizontal version and the vertical version. And those slopes are reciprocal, so we want to make sure that we get these straight. I highly encourage you to add this kind of information to your note card. So note that the version of the hyperbola we're talking about is the horizontal one. Remember the foci that they gave us were along a horizontal transverse axis, so this is the version that we need, B over A. So when we take a look at these slopes, I'm going to play around with the positive one. I want to keep my numbers positive if at all possible. I wind up with a 3 over 4 for B over A. We do want to be careful because it's possible that was reduced. For example, if B were 6 and A were 8, that would have reduced to 3/4. So we need to take C into account here as well. But since C is 5, we know this is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. One thing that could have hinted that perhaps things were a bit in disarray here would be if like C were 10. If C were 10, then I'd be worried about that 3 and that 4 not being exactly as they seem. But that didn't happen. So life is a little bit sweeter. We know our B value, we know our A value, and we also have H and K. So despite being, at first, kind of a gross-looking problem, using this graph helps us out a bit, helps us find that it's a horizontal orientation, it got us a C value, it got us a center. We didn't have to worry with those nasty fractions so much, so pretty good life. Keep in mind this is horizontal, so x is going to come first, x minus h, quantity squared over a squared, minus y minus k, quantity squared over b squared, whole guy equals 1. So our h value, that's the x coordinate of our center, that was a 7. X minus 7 quantity squared. A was 4. 4 squared is 16. And then we also had y minus 2. Incorrect. plus 2. All over b squared. B was 3, so squaring that will give us 9. Hyperbola equals 1. Put a box around it, take a deep breath, maybe try some on your own. Whatever you do, be nice to the sub.